What is going on YouTube? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to yet another video. So today we're going to be going over the build breakdown and cost of my 2011 BMW F10 535 6-speed throughout 2022 and talk briefly about what's to come this year in 2023. This video will go over all of the parts that I have installed in 2022 as well as the cost for each part. So we will start off with the cost of actually picking up the car. So in late June 2022, I picked this car up local to me for $9,300 before registration fees. And at the time of purchase, this car was entirely bone stock with the only obvious problem being a leaking oil pan seal. That very same day, I drove my freshly acquired F10 to my local smog shop and paid $65 to have the car smogged in preparation for getting the car registered and put in my name. After the car was registered, it mostly sat in stock form for about 2 months while I started accumulating parts to start installing, during which I also started prepping for starting this YouTube channel, which is mostly why there isn't any video clips of the car when I picked it up. Now, once I had accumulated a solid amount of parts, come that following September, I started this YouTube channel with the installation of newly acquired cinnamon colored door panels that I picked up from a local BMW parts dismantler called Straight 6 Auto Parts. I managed to pick up, alongside the door panels, an entire extended leather cinnamon colored interior set, which included front and rear seats, the dash and glove box, as well as the armrest. Basically everything minus the center console edge trim piece. All of which I was fortunate enough to pick up for only $500, which is an amazing deal considering that a quick glance on eBay you could see that for only the front seats you can easily pay up to $800. So only $500 for the entire interior was a huge win. Once I had started installing the interior and managed to figure out installing all 4 cinnamon door panels, I decided to make a custom Alcantara shift boot as well as install a BMW ZHP weighted shift knob. Both parts cost me a total of $0 as I had both on hand from previous interior work that I have done in the past. However, if you were looking for a BMW ZHP weighted shift knob for your BMW, and not just the F10, as these will fit any manual transmission BMWs, you can pick them up from websites like FCP Euro, ECS Tuning, or Turner Motorsports for approximately $100. Once that was done, I began diving back into the interior part swap and decided to start swapping out my black seats for the cinnamon ones. This project almost turned into a huge mess as I had noticed that one of the connectors on my factory black seats looked different than that same connector on my newly acquired cinnamon seats. I was also made aware that the seats in the F10s may come from factory coded to the seat modules, which I had not planned for and was specifically trying to avoid needing to code anything. Thankfully, after some thought, I simply managed to swap my factory black seat module over to the new cinnamon seat, and after careful inspection, found that all of the pins on both seat connectors were in the same locations. So I decided to just put them in and hope that I didn't have any fault codes, and to my surprise, no fault codes, and so far both seats function 100% the same as my black ones did. The project of installing all 4 door panels as well as the front seats kept me busy on this channel for the following month before I finally started working on the exterior of the car, which started off with a simple and subtle mod, but one that I felt really helped make the rear end of the car look significantly better, and that was the removal of my 535i badge on my trunk for the wonderful price of $0. Shortly after removing the badge on the trunk, I managed to pick up M Sport front and rear bumpers as well as side skirts from the same BMW parts dismantler, Straight 6 Auto Parts, all for only $600. And similar to the cinnamon colored extended leather interior set that I picked up, I managed to get really lucky with these parts. Since I was able to pick these parts up from a BMW parts dismantler, that meant that the front and rear bumpers as well as the side skirts were OEM, which meant that they fit great and I didn't have to worry about struggling to install them. So began the install of the M Sport front and rear bumpers as well as the side skirts. And unlike what I previously just mentioned about being lucky that I got these parts from a parts dismantler, that very same reason usually is accompanied by the fact that the cars that these parts come off of are on their last leg before being put out of commission entirely, which essentially just means some of the parts aren't in the greatest condition when they're purchased, and it became very apparent once I finally started throwing these bumpers on that they are in fact in need of some work. But thankfully none were in such bad a shape that they couldn't be used, and once installed alongside the side skirts, the car really started to feel like it was coming together. The M Sport bumpers are a lot more clean looking than the non-M Sport ones, and add to the fact that these M Sport parts just so happen to be a similar color, it was nice to get an idea for what the car will look like once it's all cleaned up and put together. Shortly after those parts were installed, I finally started installing what I've been referring to in my previous videos as the fun mods. Everything up to this point was essentially taking the car from boring base model to nice looking higher trim model. So once it was at that point, I began installing these KG splitters, side skirt, and rear bumper extension pieces. I picked these up for about $140 shipped. Sadly, they aren't real carbon fiber, just carbon overlay, but they really add to the aggressive looking nature of the car and really help tie the new parts together. Around the same time as the splitter installs, I also installed this carbon fiber high kick trunk lip that I again picked up from Straight Six Auto Parts for $150. This part was taken directly off of another F10, so I knew it would fit nicely, and it was also a part that I've wanted to install on one of my previous BMWs for some time, but never got around to purchasing it until the F10. This style is admittedly a little aggressive and definitely looked pretty out of place when the F10 was still at stock height, which we'll get into shortly. But once it was installed and once the car was seen from the backside, it was very clear, at least to me, that this was the right purchase and had me even more excited to continue modding the F10. The next mods I ended up installing on the car was this eBay front bumper lip and rear diffuser, both of which admittedly weren't the most high quality parts and both had their challenges when installing, especially the rear diffuser. But once I did manage to get them both put on the car, I was happy to have had them installed. The front lip was $95 and the rear diffuser was $145. I do want to note that if you're looking for a rear diffuser for your F10, I highly suggest not purchasing the one that I did. If I had to make the purchase again, I'd have gone with something likely more expensive and clearly better quality, as this one was very poorly fit and simply not worth the hassle it took to install. Near the end of the year, I managed to pick up an entire coilover set, including adjustable sway bar end links from ECS Tuning during their Black Friday sale for an insane price of only $465. These are ECS Tuning's coilover set, and if you hadn't checked out my review yet, which I'll put at the top of the video here, these coilovers ended up being by far the best bang for buck system I could have purchased. These coilovers come with three-way adjustability, meaning you can control the height, the dampening, as well as the preload, and being able to have purchased a coilover with those capabilities that also happen to ride really well, all for less than $500, it's definitely been one of the best purchases for the F10 so far. Lastly, to close out the year, I purchased a valved muffler set from eBay for $350 as well as vacuum pump management from AliExpress for only $30. These valved mufflers and management is the same setup you can buy from companies like Valvetronic. However, I decided to try and save a couple bucks and go this route, and at the end of the day, paid over $200 less for my setup than I would have had I gone with Valvetronic. Unfortunately, I was not able to secure a spot at my local exhaust shop until this coming week, so I was not able to install them during the 2022 year. But that will hopefully be next week's video, which will be the perfect start to 2023. So in total, including the price of the car, I'm in this project for a little less than $12,000. And I will mention that I did not say exact prices, as I've seen some of the parts be listed for different prices from the time I purchased. But to be specific, I've spent $11,859.89 on my F10 up to this point. And if we simply remove the cost for purchasing the car and we strictly look at cost for parts, I'm sitting at $2,494.89, which for an entire factory interior set, factory front and rear bumpers, factory side skirts, and brand new coilover set, among various other little mods, I'd say we're definitely doing good. So moving on to 2023 and what's planned. After I get the mufflers installed, I have parts purchased already to take care of my oil pan leak, and while I'm in there, I'll be replacing my engine mounts as well. Then of course there's prepping the car for wrap, which will include filling a couple of small dents as well as sanding down some of the parts that have deep scratches or grooves to get the car finally ready for wrap, which if you have any suggestions for colors I should consider, definitely let me know in the comments. After that, I may try and look for some wheels. I had planned on buying different ones, but now that the car is lowered, the current wheel design is growing on me. And while I'm sure I'll get at least a couple people ripping into me about cheap rep wheels, I want to point out that the car came with these when I bought it, and right now I have other things that I want to dedicate my funds to towards the car, and wheels would take a massive chunk of those funds away from other potential mods. So at this moment in time, I'm undecided. I'll likely peek around, but definitely don't wait up for me to find new wheels. I think other than that, once the car is wrapped and what I'm going to call stage 1 of the car being complete, I may just enjoy it for a bit and consider picking up something new to start fresh. Obviously, we still have lots of work and tons of content to make for the F10, but I'm always open to new and fun opportunities, so maybe we'll explore that avenue later this year. If you want to check out any of the videos going over any of the parts I mentioned throughout this video, I'll link several of them down below in the description. Otherwise, this wraps up the F10 build through 2022. Hopefully we can continue to grow this channel and keep making fun content going further into the new year. I'm excited to see where this year takes us. I hope you all enjoyed this builds, parts, and cost breakdown. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.